Hey guys, if you're tired of hearing about the same old brands and the same products over and over again, this video is for you. Today I'm going to be sharing standout products from boring brands. Now, I don't want to say that these brands are boring. I don't think they're boring, but I call them boring brands because they're brands that people are not talking about here in the beauty community. You don't hear about them on social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So these are brands that I just think deserve more love. And I want to give a quick shout out to one of my subscribers who posted this video idea over on my community tab. Yesterday or the day before, I had asked all of you to give me some fresh new content ideas for 2024, and I got so many amazing responses. I decided that for the whole month of January, I'm just going to do viewer requested content. So all of my videos this month are going to be your ideas. So the community post is still open if you want to head over there and let me know what you'd like to see this month. I'm going to be choosing the most popular responses, the ones that get the most likes and comments and all of that. So definitely let me know what you'd like to see, and why don't we go ahead and jump right in and get started. All right, guys, let's start with eyeshadow, and I'm going to be using my Lorac Unzipped palette today. This is a palette that I've actually repurchased once already. I had the original one from somewhere like between 8 to 10 years ago, and then this one I got about 2 years ago when Ulta was having a sale on them, and I use it all the time still, even though it's something I don't always talk about here on camera because it's not new and exciting. I do use this palette really often, and I have to say it's a little bit of a different formula than the other Lorac palettes. So if you've tried those before, sometimes her shimmer shades can be a little bit more on the subtle side. These actually are so metallic, they're a lot more foiled, and they just pop on your eyes, but they don't have glitter. They're incredibly smooth. So that's one of the things I love the most about the Unzipped formula. And also, I just love the kind of rosy brown undertone that these colors have. They do have a warmer version as well if you don't like that pink or rosy undertone, and that one's called Unzipped Gold. But this one is just, it's so perfect for me. I love all of these tones with my skin. So I figured I'd start out with this shade right here, which is called Unconditional. And I'm applying this with the BK Beauty A503 brush. This is a little bit of a bigger brush than I usually start out with, but I do it with this shade just because this shade is a little bit deeper of a color than I would normally use for a crease or transition. So I just want to sheer it out a little bit more, and a bigger brush is going to help me do that. So anyway, as far as Lorac goes, I don't find them to be a boring brand at all. I love their palettes. I love their blushes. They're amazing. They actually have really good products. I can't even say I've tried anything terrible from them, unless you count the Unzipped Amore palette. That was supposed to be part of this line. I think it came out last year or the year before, and it was awful. It was not the same formula, so please avoid that one. It has terrible reviews on the Ulta website anyway, but yeah, don't bother getting that one, even though it says Unzipped. It's nothing like this palette. And this palette's actually getting a little bit harder to find. It's not at Ulta anymore, even though all of the other palettes are. I did find it at Macy's though, so I'll link to that down below in case you're interested in getting this. I really hope it's not being discontinued, but when it comes to Lorac, I think as a brand, the reason that you would consider them boring is, well, there's a couple reasons. The first one is that you don't see them in stores anymore. They used to be at Ulta, they used to be in store at Kohl's, and now Kohl's got rid of their beauty department because they have Sephora, and Ulta got rid of so many really good brands like Lorac and Mally Beauty and Laura Geller. There were so many great brands that really Ulta was like the only place you could get them in store, and now they're nowhere. I'm just going to deepen my outer corner with the shade Unbridled right here, and I'm using the A504 brush. So not having them in store is definitely the first reason. The second one is that they don't release new products very often. I mean, that could be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Like in a good way, I think it's great that they're not constantly pushing new stuff on us like so many other brands are. I think it helps them to just focus on putting out quality rather than quantity. So I like that, but then at the same time, if they're not constantly releasing new stuff, you tend to forget about them. Just like not seeing them in store means it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I think that's what happens with a lot of these brands, is that they don't release anything for a while and then people just kind of forget about them. And then the third reason I think they're not as popular anymore is because they don't send out PR. Now, I don't know if they're sending it out maybe to TikTokers, because a lot of brands are sending their stuff to TikTok now and we're not getting it here on YouTube. But I mean, I do watch TikTok sometimes and I haven't really seen Lorac mentioned either over there. So I don't think they're sending PR out to anybody, and I think that can definitely hurt a brand these days, because a lot of people watch makeup reviews online, and if your brand isn't part of it, you're gonna get left behind. There's no chance of your products going viral. I think those are the three main reasons why we don't see Lorac being talked about anymore, and it's a shame because they have really good stuff, like I said. So I really hope they'll be releasing a new palette or something exciting soon. I feel like it's been a really long time. All right, next I'm gonna apply the shade Unbelievable. This really is unbelievable. It's my favorite shade in the palette. It's the only one that has like a dent in it because I use this shade so often. And I'm just gonna pat that right on with my finger. It's so smooth. It's not gonna enhance texture on your eyelids. It's the way eyeshadows used to be before all of the glitter. Like, so many eyeshadows these days are full of glitter. I know it's trendy, but I love a really rich, smooth metallic like this. And it just goes on so velvety. It's beautiful. I would love to hear in the comments how many of you own this palette still, and if you're using it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or is this video making you take it out and use it again? I hope it is, because I think it's one of those palettes that really just stands the test of time. Like, it doesn't get old. For me, it's not one of those palettes that I used to love and then I take it out and I'm disappointed because the formula isn't as good as I remember. Like, it's everything that I remember. So I think this is definitely an older palette worth picking up if you don't already own it. Next, for eyeliner, I want to talk about this Urban Decay 24/7 ink. So I did talk about this more recently, but I love this eyeliner so much. It has this ergonomic kind of triangle where you put your fingers, and it's so easy to kind of hold it really steady. And I love the formula too, because it's really smooth, it doesn't skip, and also this lasts all day. It doesn't smudge, it doesn't fade away. I have mine in the shade Whiskey, which is a really dark brown. So I'm gonna try to do this while I'm talking. Hopefully I can. And I just saw a trick recently where someone was putting their liner kind of like under, like in the waterline here, like under the lashes, and winging it out over there. They said it was a really good tip for hooded eyes. So I'm gonna try that for the first time on camera. Hopefully it doesn't get too messed up. But basically what they did is just kind of lifted their eye like this, and then starting at the outer corner, they drew the line under the lashes and then straight out this way like that. And then they just drew on top of the lashes and connected it in a little triangle. That actually works pretty well. I feel like it doesn't get stuck in that fold of my eye. It's kind of underneath it. I think it worked pretty well. But anyway, Urban Decay is a brand that I wouldn't say they're like super boring, but I do think that they've fallen off with consumers compared to what they used to be. When I worked at Sephora back in like the early to mid 2000s, Urban Decay was like an it brand. I mean, when the Naked palettes came out, forget about it. They were just like, everybody wanted this brand, and really they could do no wrong. But even before the Naked palettes, when they were a little more alternative and grunge, they had amazing nail polishes and their single shadows, and they had those lickable body powders. Like, they were interesting as a brand. And I think after the hype of the Naked palettes died down, they just became less interesting, and they just sort of do what a lot of other brands do, and they don't stand out like they once did. So I think that's what's kind of making them boring right now. Every once in a while, they have a hit that comes out that people tend to really like, but for the most part, I think a lot of their launches go by pretty much unnoticed. They might get a mention in like a Will I Buy It video or something, but you don't see a ton of influencers really talking about them anymore. But I think they do have some really good, solid products like this eyeliner. I really like this a lot. Then moving on to mascara, I wanted to use the Benefit Fan Fest. I'm not a huge fan of Benefit's mascaras usually, and the reason for that is because they usually smudge under my eyes after a couple of hours. Even though I usually like the way they make my lashes look, I had that issue with Roller Lash and I had that issue with their Real. But this one is completely different. I never had any issues with smudging. I feel like it's very long lasting. I love how it just kind of fans out my lashes and makes them look really big and voluminous and long at the same time. So I think this is a really good one. And if you're looking for like a more budget-friendly alternative, Maybelline's Surreal mascara, I think it's called the Colossal Surreal. It's in a purple tube. It's one of their newer ones. That one is actually super similar to this. I did a comparison between them in a video not too long ago, and I was really shocked. I felt like they pretty much were the same. But yeah, I love this formula, and Benefit is another brand that I think is kind of boring for a lot of people. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure their brow products are like their #1 seller. And brow products, you know, they're just not that fun or exciting to buy. It's something that I think people repurchase over and over again, which is probably what helps to keep the brand going, because there's a lot of like repeat purchase items that they have. But as a brand, I just don't think they're super exciting, so people aren't talking about them a lot. They don't get a lot of hype for that reason. In fact, I think this mascara was the first product of theirs in a really long time that I heard a bunch of people talking about. I think like Urban Decay, they come out with a big hit every once in a while. I remember the cookie highlighter being really super hyped up a couple of years ago when that came out. But otherwise, when they release something, I don't hear a lot about it. Like they recently released that whole line of blushes, and people talked about them like once and then never mentioned it again. It just didn't seem to be a really big deal, but I think that they do have some really great quality products, and there are quite a few things that I really like from the brand. So anyway, moving on to foundation, I'm going to be using the Ulta Beauty Complexion Crush Medium Coverage Foundation. So I just got a new tube of this over Black Friday. They had it on sale for $8, which was a steal, and my old tube was almost gone, so I just replaced it with the new one. I have it in the shade Light Cool, and I love this foundation. I mean, obviously because I repurchased it, but it just has the perfect medium coverage, and it's a great balance between being too dewy or too matte. It's right in the middle. It has that satin, very skin-like finish with just a little bit of glow, and I find that it's really hydrating on my dry skin as well. So it doesn't accentuate or cling to dry patches. I find that it makes my skin look really smooth. It just evens everything out. It just looks so nice. It doesn't sit in my pores or fine lines. And Ulta is another brand that I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on. They have some really good products. Like their eyeshadow primer is really nice too. Some of their baked cheek products are really great as well. I can't think off the top of my head. I keep meaning to just do like a whole video on Ulta brand and all the hidden gems that are in that line, because I do think there are quite a few of them. And granted, there are quite a few flops in the line too. I think probably it's like 50-50 with what I've tried. So I think that's even more reason to do a video, because you really don't know what you're getting with this brand. But this is really the only Ulta foundation I've tried that I really like, and not even like, I love it. I mean, it's amazing. So I highly recommend. It just gives the smoothest, most flawless result. It's so beautiful. Next up for concealer, I wanted to use the LA Girl Pro Conceal High Definition Concealer. So LA Girl is another brand that I think is really good. Sometimes we hear about their eyeshadow palettes because those are some of the best at the drugstore, I think. But as a brand, they just don't get as much hype or attention as brands like e.l.f. and Essence, like that are on the way more affordable side. I think LA Girl is kind of priced with those. Some of the more classic drugstore brands like L'Oreal, Maybelline, CoverGirl, like their prices are getting closer and closer to high end sometimes, but brands like LA Girl are just keeping things really, really affordable, which is much appreciated, especially when they bring this kind of quality. So this concealer, I didn't even show you an insert. I'm sorry about that. So the LA Girl Pro Conceal is such a beautiful formula. It's a thinner concealer. It's really hydrating again. So if you have drier skin, it's not gonna look cakey and dry under your eyes. eyes, and I find that it doesn't crease on me and it doesn't settle into the fine lines that are under my eyes. This is in the shade Buff, by the way. And like I said, I just think this is one of the smoothest concealer formulas ever. I don't know how it wears on oily skin, but if you guys have oily skin and you've tried this, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Just let everybody know how it works for you. But on dry skin, it's really phenomenal. And it's one of the more natural looking concealers that I have in my collection while still giving really great coverage. So I love it. It just looks so beautiful under the eye area. All right, moving on to bronzer, I have the Laura Geller Baked Bronze and Brighten in the shade Fair. I have gotten so many requests from you guys to talk about this bronzer, and the reason that I love this is not only is the baked formula really smooth on dry skin, this has pink running through it that mixes in with the brown, and it gives it that little bit of a rosy undertone. And if you are fair like me with a cool undertone, you know that if you go out in the sun, you don't turn that golden color that a lot of people turn with a tan. We actually get a little bit red. It's kind of like a reddish brown color. And this particular bronzer mimics that so perfectly. So I'm gonna be using the BK Beauty 107 brush. It's an angled brush, and I love using this for bronzer because I can just kind of get it right in the hollow of my cheek. I'm putting it up just a little bit higher because I want to like lift the face as opposed to dragging it down. But yeah, it's just the smoothest powder. It's also the perfect color. It doesn't look really obvious like I'm wearing bronzer, like I have this brown stripe. It just gives a really natural sun-kissed look, and it blends beautifully. And I think Laura Geller is another brand that really, like, they deserve more hype. And they have been getting a little bit more traction on social media. I noticed some ads for them popping up a lot. And I noticed that she's kind of rebranded into a brand that caters more toward women of a certain age, those over 40. At least in my mind, the brand always kind of seemed like it was geared toward that demographic, but they didn't really say that. And now they're just coming out and talking about it. But I think it's always appealed to me, even when I was younger, because I've always had dry skin, even as a teenager. And I found even way back then that a lot of products that are meant for mature skin also tend to work really well for people with dry skin. So I've been using this bronzer for years. This is actually the second one I've purchased. I've used their blushes for years and years. Their lip products are really nice. They're so smoothing and they don't accentuate the lines in your lips. So overall, it's just such a really good brand, and everything is just really high quality. So I appreciate them a lot. Next, for blush, I want to use the Flower Beauty blush in the shade Sweet Pea. This is like the perfect dusty pink shade. I love all of the colors of this blush line. By the way, I have them all. I use them all, and I think that this formula is one of the smoothest, really kind to dry skin type of formulas. Again, not that it wouldn't work for oily or combo skin either. I think it definitely would, but I think if you have dry skin, you know the struggle of powder products that just sometimes look like they're sitting on top and they look really dry. And what I love about these blushes is just how finely milled they are, and they just go on so smoothly. They just melt right in, and they don't look like a powder. They look as smooth as a cream. So this is such a gorgeous formula, and this color in particular is probably the one I use the most. It's cooler toned, but it kind of almost comes off like a neutral when you put it on. It's one of those blushes that kind of goes with everything. I know in a recent video I was talking about Tarte's Party blush. That one is also very similar to this. It's just the kind of blush that you can use with almost any look. So I love that. And I think when it comes to Flower Beauty, I can't even believe I'm saying that they're one of like the boring brands now that nobody's talking about, but really they've kind of, I don't want to say they've fallen off, but they haven't released anything in a long time. Their website's been closed for a year now, I think, and nobody really knows what's going on with that. Really, the only place that you can buy them is online at Ulta or also at some CVS stores. They're not in all CVS's. I think there's only one near me that actually carries Flower, so it's hard to find. And again, it's kind of like with Lorac. If it's not in store and you're not seeing it regularly, you kind of forget about it. And also, it's one of those brands that's only available in the United States, so anybody from other countries isn't able to get it. I don't know, it's kind of sad because it's a brand that I love. I think I like more of the products I try than I don't. So I think they're great. And when they do come out with products, I think quite a fair number of people talk about them. But then when they don't, it's like the brand just kind of goes invisible and nobody brings it up again. So I'm hoping that they're going to get their website back up and running again soon and that they'll be releasing new stuff in the new year, I hope. Then when it comes to lip products, I wanted to use the Artist Color Pencil from Makeup Forever. This is a product that actually is getting a lot of hype right now, just this one particular product. It's over on TikTok. Everybody's talking about the Color Anywhere Caffeine, which is a really nice nude lip liner. Again, it's kind of a universal color, but today I want to use Wherever Walnut. This color is kind of similar to the shade of my shirt, and I think it's just going to go really well with the whole look. And Makeup Forever is another brand that I think just doesn't get hype because, and this is just kind of my opinion and the way that I see them, but I see them as more of like a serious brand. They're a makeup artistry brand, and they don't come out with like these fun and more viral style products. They're just like really good quality basics and staples that you would have in your kit, like if you were a makeup artist. So I normally love the products that they come out with, but I think it could be seen as just a little bit boring because of that. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think of them down in the comments, but anyway, again, I forgot to show you what this color looks like up close. So this is just the most beautiful pinky nude shade. I've been using this one so much lately for a lot of different looks, and these Artist Color Pencils you can use anywhere. You don't have to just use them on your lips. They can go on your eyes. It's kind of an all over sort of pencil, and I feel like they're nice and creamy without being too creamy. They definitely stay put when you put them on. So I think these are great, and who knows, maybe with these gaining some traction, the whole brand of Makeup Forever will get a little bit more popular. We'll see. And then when it comes to lipstick, I wanted to wear the Revlon Super Lustrous lipstick in the shade Mink. So this is a beautiful kind of rosy brown color. It's very neutral. Again, I wear this when I'm just doing a neutral look. It goes with a lot of different things, and these are one of my favorite bullet lipstick formulas of all time, whether drugstore or high-end. I love them because they're unscented, first of all, so there's no fragrance to them. Also, they're just so creamy. They look really smoothing on your lips. It's just an absolutely gorgeous formula. It comes in so many different colors. I definitely need to get more. I have about 6 or 7 of them now, but every time I go to the drugstore, it seems like I'm just picking up another one because I love them so much. They're just my perfect lipstick. And Revlon is another brand that has some really great quality products. I actually have a whole video on some of my absolute favorites, but they don't get that much hype except for an occasional viral product here and there, like their Glass Shine lipsticks last year that they for some reason discontinued and never brought back. But they have so many great things. I love their Illuminance foundation, their Skin Awaken concealer, the new full cover concealer is really good, their powder blushes are amazing. Like they just have so many good things that I wish more people talked about. They have high-end quality at just a really affordable price. So anyway, this is the entire look. I feel like it's pretty simple, pretty basic. I just had so much fun using all of these products on camera again. It's been a really long time since I've done that, even though I continue to use them in my everyday life. I just love sharing these finds with you, and hopefully one of these days they'll start to become popular and gain some traction again. Who knows? But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, and I would love for you to hang around and watch another video if you have some time. I'll just put it right up here for you to check out next. And I want to thank you all so much for spending time with me here on my channel. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.